Well, the only thing that we didn't talk about, Joel,
Yes.
is what if mom and dad don't have a will when they die?
Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, that was on my last page.
We call that in dying intestate, meaning you're dying without a will. If you're testate, you have a will. If you're intestate, you don't have a will. And so if it's intestate, then you follow the South Carolina laws of intestacy, which, let's say mom is married to dad. Dad didn't have a will, and they owned the property as tenants in common, not joint tenants with right of survivorship. So, and a lot of the old deeds from back in the 90s, that was kind of the norm in South Carolina, was to hold title as tenants in common.
Okay.
That means each mom and dad each owned 50% of the property.
Versus joint tenancy, which
Well,
means...
they each own 50%, but by being a joint tenancy, when one of them dies, the 50% automatically goes over to the survivor. In a tenancy in common situation, each parent owns 50% of the property. It's what we call an undivided interest. So meaning that when that person dies, the will controls where that 50% would go. And most husband and wives, it goes to each other. But if dad died owning 50% of a piece of property as a tenant in common, and he didn't have a will, well, then it's a different situation, because the laws of intestacy say that dad's one half is then split. 50% of his half goes to his wife and 50% of his half goes to his children. So then in the end, basically mom owns 75% of the property and the two other kids own 25% of the property. So it's a different process. If you don't have a will, you have to file what's called a formal petition in the probate court.
Okay.
And that is, and again, I'll use the example of both mom and dad died, and mom died second, and she didn't have a will and owned this piece of property, and she had 3 children. Well, the laws of intestacy say since she was the second of the spouses to die, that everything goes to her 3 children. But she didn't have a will, so she didn't have a named PR. She didn't have, the authority to sell real estate as the PR. And just several other things. So the 3 kids in this situation would have to decide who's going to be the PR. And sometimes we're lucky and one of the PRs lives in the area and 2 of them live somewhere else, or they all 3 live somewhere else. But typically it's decided who's going to be the PR. And the other ones will sign a waiver of the right to serve as the PR, because they're all 3, as children, they all 3 have the equal right to serve as the PR, but 2 of them will waive it and request that the court appoint the 3rd one.
Okay.
So then you file the formal petition in the probate court seeking the appointment of the personal representative, and it's granted. I mean, it's just a formality. But then it's a little bit different, because you don't have the will that gave the PR the authority to sell the property. So if they do want to sell it, then you have to go petition the court for an order of sale authorizing the sale of the property.
So that's another step, and I'm sure adds on to the length.
Oh, yeah. But it's all done during this 8-month period.
During the 8 month.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all done during that 8-month period. So
Gotcha.
it doesn't add a whole, it's just easier if people have wills, it just makes it easier.
Yes, absolutely. So during that 8-month period, if they are going through the formal petition, right?
Or a form, if they filed a formal petition for the appointment of
For the appointment
of the PR.
Clarify this question for me. Can they sell the property while they're going through the formal petition?
Well, that's what I say. They have to get an order.
Get an order
from the
Gotcha.
probate court to authorize the sale of the property, and then again, it would be once you've got that, it's just like the other deal we talked about. The money's going to be held